For context, I am a romance hater. I have a cold heart, I feel nothing. I only want to read sad, devastating books. In all honesty, I just haven't read a lot of romance since I was younger. When I was in middle school, I was a die-hard Nicholas Sparks fan. Not sure what that means today. Over the past couple years, I've read a few romance books here and there, and well, sometimes I find them fun. I just feel like I don't ever gravitate towards the genre at all. But this week, I've decided I'm gonna just commit 3 days to reading 3 romance novels, 2 of which are new releases. They haven't even come out yet as I'm filming this video. So we're really gonna put my taste to the test and see if I genuinely don't love romance books or if I just haven't read the right ones. Will I be converted at the end of this video? Who knows? So I have gathered 3 romance novels that will hopefully convert me into a romance girly. First, I'm gonna be reading Happy Place by Emily Henry. I have read Beach Read and Book Lovers, and I did enjoy them. They just weren't my favorite books of all time. I did start this book this morning, and I will say, I think I could potentially like it. Basically, it's about a group of friends, and within that group of friends is our main character and her boyfriend. They are part of the same friend group that go to a vacation house in Maine every summer. This particular summer, after years of going to this vacation house in Maine every year with their whole friend group, the couple has been split up for months and they haven't told the rest of their friends. And on this trip, they are pretending that they are still together. So it's kind of forced proximity, fake dating, even though they were originally dating at one point. I feel like I might really like this. I don't know yet though. This is also your disclaimer to never ever cut your bangs. You will spend hours trying to style your hair for it to look mediocre. Then I will be reading How to End a Love Story by Yulin Kwong. This is about 2 people who experience some sort of tragic accident together 13 years before this book starts. Grant and Helen. Helen is an author and Grant is a screenwriter, and she takes a job to produce a TV show, I believe, and then Grant takes a job to be the screenwriter on this same project, so they are working together. And of course, I do love a book about writers, so I do love that aspect. And then the final book that I'm gonna be reading for this video is Just for This Summer by Abby Jimenez. I've heard so much about this author. I've never read her books, but I decided I'm gonna try out her new release. Emma believes that she is cursed and that any person that she dates will then break up with her and find the love of their lives right after. Justin also feels like he's doomed in the dating world, and so then they come up with a plan to date each other to cancel out their curses. I'm gonna dive back in and finish Happy Place today, and I will update you guys along the way. That's hot. We need to discuss this book. It is now my favorite Emily Henry book ever. My main takeaway, I guess, from this book is, I hope the glare isn't too bad because it's a library book. My main takeaway from reading this is that I think I love Emily Henry's settings in books. I also love the way she writes characters. What made this book even more enjoyable for me was the friendships. I feel like a lot of times the focus is put on the relationship we have with a significant other and not so much put on found family or friendships and other types of relationships, and I feel like this book did a really good job of doing both. I wouldn't consider myself a romance girly, but am I being converted or do I just really like Emily Henry? Once I finished Happy Place, I immediately picked up Just for This Summer. I'm on page 64, and since I started it this morning, I have just been flying through the pages. I already know it's just gonna be the perfect read for summer. Cannot wait to just devour this. I will probably update you guys one more time and once I'm about halfway through. I know I didn't update you really at all with Happy Place, but for now, I'm gonna go enjoy myself while I read this. I don't know why I have been on this kick of saying that I'm not a romance girly for so long, because I think I might be being converted. After reading Happy Place, and now on page 319 of Just for the Summer, I am questioning why I haven't been reading more romance, making me remember why I liked reading Nicholas Sparks when I was younger. It's just so fun. It's so enjoyable. I really love the characters in this book. And while there are a few somewhat cheesy moments, overall I don't feel like it's been that over the top cheesy where it makes me not want to read it, because I feel like that's a problem I have sometimes with romance. And honestly, this has made me laugh out loud twice. I mean, it's made me chuckle here and there, but one particular scene with the raccoons, if you know, you know. That scene, I love that scene so much. It is going to be stuck in my head forever. And I already asked on my Instagram stories for any Abby Jimenez fans to recommend me more Abby Jimenez because I have not read her before, but I'm loving this book and I'm hoping that it's not gonna be my favorite of hers. Because I kind of hate that when you discover an author and you love one of their books and then you're like, oh my gosh, I need to read their backlist. And then their backlist just doesn't hit as hard as the first book that you read by them, which is fine. But I think one that got recommended the most so far is Yours Truly, so I'm definitely gonna check that out soon. But if you guys haven't picked up Just for the Summer, I haven't finished it yet, but I think we're recommending it already. Today, I'm going to just sit down and finish the last 100 or so pages of this book. I'm gonna be honest, it has been more than a day of me reading this. We're still gonna title this 3 romance books in 3 days for the sake of how I started this video and hopefully how I plan to finish the last one in a day. But regardless, I am loving and I'm so happy that I decided to make this video, and I hope you guys are enjoying this and enjoying my reviews of these books, because if you needed any push to jump back into the romance genre, especially during spring, I feel like it just hits different during the spring months. If you need a light, feel-good book, definitely pick up Happy Place or Just for the Summer. I'm getting kind of nervous, feeling like, okay, I had 2 romance books that I really loved. Is this third one just gonna be like a complete flop? Because I know nothing about it. I know nothing about the author. I know nothing about the book itself. So all I know is that it's romance and it comes out on the 9th of April. I am so obsessed with the setting of this book too. I think that's the thing that gets me with romance books. The setting has to be perfect for me to really enjoy the romance. It has to be probably summertime. It has to be at like a lakeside or a beachside cabin or cottage of some sort. There has to be a decent amount of imagery and cozy vibes in the setting. And of course, I love the romantic scenes and like the little gestures and things. Also, the male main character in this book, the love interest in this book, Justin, I feel like I'm having almost a trauma response to this character. Trauma response is dramatic. I feel like I'm just having an adverse response to this guy because anytime he does something so nice, in my head, I'm thinking, that's ridiculous. No guy would ever do that. That's way over the top. Like, I feel myself arguing that that's unrealistic. But then I'm like, wait a second, it's not really unrealistic. But I just feel like he has ulterior motives, which just goes back to me being a dramatic person and trying to read into people a little too much. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think about how, I mean, this guy feels like, I mean, he's written by a woman. Let's be real. He is written by a woman, and that's why we love him. We love men written by women. But does this exist? Does a man at this level exist? I mean, this scene with the unicorn floaty, are we being for real? Is that really something that's gonna happen? I don't know. And then, oh, better yet, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, he's all nice right now, but what about in 6 months, in a year, in 2 years when they've been living together? He's trying to get the girl. Of course he's being amazing. Of course he's on his best behavior. And I know romance books are just supposed to be the story of 2 people falling in love, and it's all cutesy. It's the honeymoon phase. And these books, the other problem, I guess, the other bone I have to pick sometimes, and I know that's the point, but it gives me unrealistic expectations because I also know it's been a matter of weeks and these characters are in love with each other. But then I think back to the beginning of my relationship and we did say I love you fairly quickly. I don't think we actually knew what we were saying when we were saying it because we didn't actually know each other that well. But when you're just caught up in the emotions and you're caught up in this new person and you love everything about them that they're showing you, but you're also showing each other your best versions of each other. It's all just so confusing, and I'm overanalyzing this. It's just supposed to be a fun, lighthearted romance, and that's what gets me, and I think that's why I gravitate towards sad, realistic, character-driven stories. Not because I don't like romance, but because I get in my head and I'm like, is this gonna last? But then that's just me being cynical. Am I cold-hearted? I feel like I'm having an existential crisis right now. But regardless, I love this book and I hope that they have a happily ever after for many years to come. I don't even know how this ends. They could break up, but let's be real, it's a rom-com. Are they really gonna break up? Anyway, I'm gonna update you guys once I finish this book, I finally have a pretty significant update for you guys, and I have so many thoughts. I'm a changed woman. I don't think you guys would recognize me from the last clip until now. That's being a bit extreme. But first things first, I did finish Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. Since finishing it, I have also learned that I should have read this last out of all of her other books. Basically, I learned that yes, all of her books can be read as standalones, but they're also part of the same universe. So different characters from these novels then appear in other novels, and there's like Easter eggs and stuff, I think. So I should have read Part of Your World, Yours Truly, and then Just for the Summer. So if you're like me and you haven't read Abby Jimenez, or you haven't read that trilogy or universe of hers, then that's the order that you read them in. With that being said, I'm gonna go back and read Part of Your World and Yours Truly, not in this video. Regardless, I enjoyed this book as a standalone. I obviously will save my full official rating and review of it for the end of the video, which I'm really excited to rank them because I think it's gonna be really challenging, and I can't wait to talk about them in relation to each other and what I think of each. And before we start talking about how to end a love story, I wanna say that I went down a rabbit hole yesterday and was watching a bunch of Emily Henry interviews, and I think my perspective on the romance genre has changed because I was going into it kind of cynical, and I think some of the romance that I had read in the past was kind of, I don't want to say surface level, but the characters were just very one-dimensional. And after reading 2 and a tiny portion of this book so far, I really feel like I can appreciate the romance genre. And I love this idea that Emily Henry was talking about how learning from books or from fiction, obviously reading fiction, we know, makes people more empathetic, which I love. You can also learn a lot from fiction, even though it's not traditional learning like maybe reading nonfiction would be. But there is an aspect of learning that goes into it. But with the romance genre specifically, it feels like that is downplayed or discredited entirely because they are seen as like more fluffy and feminine and not necessary. But at the same time, some of the most emotionally intelligent characters and the most interesting character arcs that portray how someone can go from a certain unstable mental place to a more stable, emotionally intelligent place, it's often done in romance books. And Emily Henry was touching on the idea that a lot of people feel like learning or like intellectual reading comes from reading depressing, sad books that are more realistic. But at the same time, romance books are realistic in that, yes, they end at that like final high point where the two love interests come together. But then it got me thinking, they're not really saying that that couple is gonna be in the honeymoon phase forever. And yes, I do think some romance books kind of stretch things and the characters are one-dimensional, but that goes with any book in any genre where the characters can be one-dimensional and there can be conflict for sake of conflict that doesn't really teach us or add value to our lives at all. I'm going off on a tangent and I'm losing my train of thought. I guess what I'm trying to say is that romance does have meaning and it's not just light fluff all the time. And just because romance books end with a happy ending, like you kind of have a guaranteed happy ending, doesn't mean that they're not realistic. Because if you think about, even if you're someone who has had multiple relationships in your life that have failed, at some point you had that happy ending where you got the person that you wanted to be with. You started this relationship, you were happy in this relationship, and it taught you something, and you carry those lessons with you throughout the rest of your life. And even if these characters in these romance books don't stay together, they still had such an incredible, powerful, significant learning experience and a time loving each other and the other people in their lives, because I feel like typically there are other characters in these stories that add value to the character's life and us as the readers. So all that to say, I have a newfound appreciation for the romance genre. Is it my favorite genre ever? No. Someone's car alarm is going off. Hopefully you guys can't hear that. With all that being said, it really got me inspired. I have been lightly working on some of my own writing projects, and I was really steering clear of anything romantic. I mean, there are romantic elements in some of my projects, but the idea of romance felt so superficial to me. But now this experience has definitely changed my mind on it, and I'm really grateful for that. And I did not expect to have so many thoughts and feelings and changes of heart while filming this video. I thought maybe I'd enjoy the books, maybe I wouldn't, and then I'd move on with my life. But I have been moved. I have been changed. This morning, I started this book. I'm on page 30, and I had to work today, but it took my entire soul and being to put this book down and not keep reading it for the entire day. Today it is now the evening time, and I cannot wait to dive back in. I was thinking, since I enjoyed Happy Place and Just for the Summer so much, no way I'm gonna love this book. I'm only on page 30, so there's still a chance that maybe it just won't be for me, but from the first 30 pages, I'm already invested. It started right into the action. I'm here for it. I literally was not expecting much out of this, but so far, I really like it. So it'll be interesting to see which of the three is my favorite and how I'm gonna rank them at the end. So I'm gonna finish this book, and then I'll be back to rank all three books, give you my ratings, and close out this video. It has been so much fun. And if you guys are still here at this point in the video, thank you for being here. And if you're still here, you must kind of like watching my face talk about books. So I would love it if you subscribed so that we can hang out and chat about books all the time. This reading vlog definitely took a turn because I finished How to End a Love Story. I loved this from the beginning. I really did. I was really excited. I thought it was gonna be tough to rank all three of these romance books, surprisingly. However, this did, around the halfway mark, fall flat for me for a couple reasons. First, I was really invested in it, but over time, I just started to feel like I didn't really understand why they had any sort of relationship going on at all. Helen's character specifically felt really cold to me, and I mean, that was the point, but even once her and Grant got to know each other and they were exchanging, I guess, romantic gestures or kind of falling in love, I just felt like there was no depth to her words. What she was saying didn't fit her character personality. It felt kind of strange. There was especially a scene where for his birthday, his wish is to have her help him cook dinner at their house and host all of the other writers that they work with and basically soft launch their relationship, even though they'd both agreed that this wasn't gonna go any further. And Helen is just like constantly in denial the whole time. It really felt like their relationship didn't make sense to me, and it just kind of got to the point where the last 30 pages or so of this, I started just skimming to see what happened. I mean, I kind of knew what was gonna happen. It's a romance. I think she has great potential, and maybe this book just wasn't specifically for me, but if this does sound like something you would enjoy, definitely pick it up for yourself. I hate giving low ratings because I know with books and any sort of art, just because it's not for me doesn't mean it's not for a lot of other people. There was a lot about this book that I did enjoy. I mean, I liked it enough to keep reading it. Definitely sits far below the other two, in my opinion. I also felt like the settings and imagery and just anything outside of the characters interacting with each other, just there wasn't enough of that for me, and that's something that I tend to really enjoy about reading. The writing was a little bit too straight and to the point and plain for me. I tend to like more lyrical, flowery writing. I felt like Helen's character arc just wasn't that interesting to me. I hate saying that because I do think that there were a lot of good elements of this book, but personally that's just my opinions, and I'm gonna have to give this about a 3.5 star rating. Obviously, The End of the Love Story is at the bottom, but don't take my ratings with a grain of salt. If you think this would be interesting to you, definitely check it out and form your own opinion for yourself. I always recommend that you guys check out books, even if I had something to say about them that I didn't quite like. So first up, let's wrap up with Happy Place. Happy Place is definitely, I think, my top book from the three of these. It's also my top Emily Henry book. It's 5 stars. I adored all of the characters in this book. The friendship dynamics were my favorite. It had my favorite setting. And again, Emily Henry writing is so good. I definitely could see myself rereading this book, and I pretty much never say that about any romance books. And I am dying to get my hands on Funny Story. In the interview I watched the other day with Emily Henry talking to Candace King, Caroline from Vampire Diaries, if you know, you know, which was filmed either a year ago or even more than a year ago, she had said that her favorite place at the moment was Lake Michigan, and that's where Funny Story is set. So I was like, is that foreshadowing to the next book that she was gonna write? I liked this book because it's a second chance romance, and I liked the fact that I feel like in a lot of romance books they meet and they fall in love so incredibly quickly, and things move so fast that it's it kind of feels a little bit not realistic. I loved hearing about Harriet and what was his name? Oh my God. And Wynn's relationship was before the breakup and how there's always like an element of grief, I feel like, in a lot of Emily Henry's writing. But mostly I loved the friendship dynamics, and this had the best banter out of the 3 of the books. Just for this summer, it's definitely a close second when it comes to the banter, but specifically the banter between all of the friends and the friendship dynamics. I feel like the characters were really well thought out, and the whole group came together and was a very believable friend group, and the relationships were very believable as well. 5 stars, will reread, absolutely adore this book. Then I read Just for the Summer and was so shocked by how quickly I fell in love with these characters. Emma is very flighty because she grew up in foster care because her mother quite literally abandons her all the time. Still part of Emma's life, but not in a healthy way. So Emma was raised in foster care, and then she grew up with her best friend's family. And she is also a traveling nurse with her best friend. And so she ends up traveling to the place where Justin lives. He also has a tough family life. His father has recently passed away, and his mother is going to prison, which means that he's going to have to take custody of all of his younger siblings. But there are definitely huge roadblocks in the way and emotional baggage that get in the way of Emma and Justin's relationship. It was a really sweet romance. It was also emotional. The lakeside cabin situation was so cute. I also loved the twist that happened, because honestly, I wasn't even really thinking about that. And then it happened and I was like, whoa, that's insane. So Emma's mother is so nutty, but she also adds like such a great amount of intrigue to the story. Like, she's a terrible person, but I really enjoyed reading about her. I'm definitely gonna be picking up all of her other books immediately because I am so excited to read more of her writing. And so many of you guys say Yours Truly is your favorite book of hers. So I'm excited to get to that one, which I should have read before this one, but that's okay. My official rating and ranking is Happy Place with 5 stars, Just for the Summer with 4.5 stars, and How to End a Love Story with 3 stars. And I am gonna say that this reading vlog has officially turned me into a romance girly, and I will be reading more romance. So if you guys have any recommendations, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And I hope to see you guys in my next video. With that being said, don't forget to subscribe because you don't want to miss the next video. And I'll see you in my next one. Bye!